Good morning. It is Friday, end of the week, heading into the weekend. Always a good day. And apologies for the absence on Wednesday. As you can see, had a bit of a fight with the optometrist, but fortunately on the road to recovery. So yeah, it wasn't a fight. Just some eye procedure. Anyway, good to be back. Lots of news to cover today. So let's get straight into it. Welcome to Daybreak. Alrighty, I don't know what it's like at your place, but it is super muggy where I am. Shocker. So obviously it's going to rain maybe later on today. But anyway, there's your weather forecast. Hey, I'm not a meteorologist, but that's just my prediction. All right, let's get straight into it. And the druggie users are very concerned because we actually don't want stoned drivers on the road. Obviously, we don't want drunks on the road. We don't want people who are stoned, high on drugs, right? And the dope users, they're getting a bit upset because they tell us that it's all about medicinal. They just take it for medicinal purposes. Now, if they took it for medicinal purposes, it would be just the CBD, the non-psychoactive substance of marijuana, CBD, as opposed to THC, which is the stuff that gets you high. So medicinal cannabis traditionally has always been about CBD. That is apparently, they told us, is where the healing proponents are. But of course, they lied. It was all a smokescreen. Medicinal cannabis has predominantly always been about legalizing recreational use. And so now they're upset because the tests that have been done are testing to see whether you've got THC in the system. They're not testing to see whether you have CBD in the system. They're testing to see whether you might be high because we don't want you on the road. And they're getting very upset. Radio New Zealand is getting very upset. They say a medicinal cannabis clinic founder, follow the money, says hundreds of thousands of legal users could be affected by new drug driving laws. Well, not if they're using actual medicinal cannabis rather than just smoking a joint. Police will begin testing drivers for THC, the main active ingredient in cannabis, along with meth, MDMA, MDMA and cocaine in Wellington next month. Funny they're starting in Wellington, eh? But you'll notice that we don't want any of those types of drivers on the road. And so they interview cannabis clinic founder and chief executive. Of course, then they rush off to an Australian researcher who's against drug driving testing. Then, of course, they run to the Druggie Foundation. This is quality journalism from Radio New Zealand. Oh, and then they find a bioscience lecturer as well. Do they run to groups who actually have done drug testing and who actually understand the importance of keeping our roads safe? No, of course not. This is truly great Radio New Zealand reporting. The fact of the matter is, if you're using the medicinal cannabis, which is the CBD, as an oil drop or whatever, then you're safe. Don't worry. But if you're smoking a joint, pretending to be on medicinal cannabis, actually, funny story, when I went to Vancouver to research the whole cannabis issue, it was back in 2019, and I went to Colorado as well. It was basically before the referendum, and I was on a fact-finding mission as to what legalization looked like. And I went into one of these government-sanctioned medicinal cannabis stores in Vancouver. And I said, I'd like some medicinal cannabis. Knew I couldn't get it back in the country, of course, at the time. Medicinal cannabis. And they said, all right, just fill out the form here, write what the pain is, what the ailment is. And I said, okay, I'll fill this in. Do I need to bring a doctor's certificate? Do I need to prove, that actually I'm suffering from what I say I'm suffering from? They said, no, that's fine. Just write down what the issue is and we'll give you the drugs. So anyway, that's how loose it is. Medicinal cannabis has always been a smokescreen for recreational dope use. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Look, in fairness, there are some legitimate users of CBD. And we said this on our road trip for seems to have some effectiveness for especially cancer treatment, those going through cancer treatment, and also for spasticity issues for both young and old. So yes, there are some users, but it's controlled. I mean, what other drug do you smoke? You don't. You get prescriptions, they're controlled, you're told how much to take. So as I said, big smokescreen. Interesting, just this one though, in the United States, as they've legalized cannabis in a number of states, and they're suffering a disaster because of it, more people are getting addicted to it, no surprise, but less people are seeking help just because it's normalized. And there's been a big rise in, and I didn't hear this term until I did my fact-finding mission, once again, scromating. Scromating is it's what you get when you have an extreme reaction to cannabis, and you end up in emergency department. And scromating is a term they use for a combination of screaming and vomiting. So the reaction to the drug is so strong that you end up screaming and vomiting at the same time. Sounds delightful, doesn't it? Anyway, now on a more serious note, I still remember where I was when I heard the news that the Air New Zealand plane had gone down on Erebus. Do you? Showing my age, it was 46 years ago, apparently. And I had just finished, this is going to show my age, School C science paper. It was my final exam of the year. So I was then on holiday. I came home from the science exam and in fifth form, so year 11, and heard about this disaster, absolute tragedy. And there was actually some kids at my school whose parents were on that plane and who died. So look, I think most families in New Zealand were affected. Do you know what? I think this is a national disgrace. It's taken 46 years and they still haven't built a memorial. I just shake my head at that and I think, what is wrong with us? We should have done it in the first year. But it seems like nobody wants it in their backyard, or they pick dumb places and they've decided on Christchurch, but it's still up in the air. So yeah, go figure. It is pretty sad. Capital gains tax, Labor's key tax policy isn't going too well because they did some polling and they actually found, so with the capital gains tax, they say that they're going to use the proceeds to give us free doctor visits, 3 free doctor visits a year. The only problem is they're giving it to everybody, rich people as well. Yeah, all the rich dudes in New Zealand are going to get 3 free doctor visits thanks to Labor, which isn't really a Labor policy. I mean, sure, it's kind of the socialism, everybody, it's all redistributed to everybody, but Labor voters actually think, no, if you're going to subsidise the people who actually need it, targeted assistance. And so in the poll, it was 57 to, what was it? I think it was about 35. 57% of Labor voters think, actually, don't give it to everybody, give it to those who need it. Which is what I would argue as well. 35% back the policy. So Labor's policy isn't going too well, even amongst its own voters. Chris Hipkins, he wants to give puberty blockers to kids still, because he says, no, Ministry of Health, the Cass Review, all the research, the latest report out of the US, the Finnish study on science, on suicide amongst kids who go through the so-called gender affirmation. No, that's not relevant. We just need to give puberty blockers to kids if they want it. He was asked about this.
The puberty blockers thing, would you reverse that?
We've said that puberty blockers should be a health decision. So it's a decision between the individual concerned, their parents, and their health practitioner, and that's where we think it should stay.
Yeah, chemicalizing kids is not a health thing. In fact, quite the opposite. But he never used that argument when they were ramming through the conversion therapy ban, were they? That it was a decision between families and their counsellor or their pastor, or if a parent wanted to affirm their son as a boy or their daughter as a girl. Nope, they sought to criminalise that. Big state intervention into our lives. So it's hypocritical. Hate speech. Still a bit of a discussion around that. There's this program on the New Zealand Herald podcast. They use the ex-presenters of Sunday program. That program I didn't have a lot of time for. because it was very biased on a lot of social issues. But they had a discussion on hate speech. And our good friend Nathan Sauli from Pillar NZ, he completely destroyed the argument for hate speech in 90 seconds against this guy who's very wants hate speech laws because he's, people get hurty feelings. But anyway, just watch this exposing the argument and then destroying it.
When Parker Posey came to New Zealand,
Posey Parker,
should she be allowed to have spoken?
That's a very interesting question.
Absolutely.
No, it's
What do you say?
So I just want to.
No, what do you say?
I am also I believe in free speech. I just believe in two more carve-outs. I believe in a hate speech carve-out and a hate speech in that.
So should she be allowed to have spoken? So we could have understood where she was coming from?
I don't think she should have been allowed to, because she intrinsically says...
Let me explain.
No. She says to those 3% of people, you don't belong in this country. You are lesser citizens. That is what she says.
Never said that. Well, what I'll explain is this.
Well, how do we know if she wasn't allowed to speak?
Well, because you've got a YouTube channel.
What I would say is Paul does not believe in free speech, but he believes in his speech. You can disagree with me. You can tell me, well, everything that I believe is a lie, that it's wrong. But freedom of speech guarantees me four things: the right to speak, the right not to speak. So I'm not compelled, I'm not obligated. The right to listen and the right not to listen, to access information or walk away from speech I disagree with. What Paul is saying here is that only speech that he agrees with or that he believes in should be allowed to happen, especially in the public square. Now, for all of human history, or I shouldn't say all of human history, for all of civilization, Western liberal democracy, we have valued debate and discussion. We have used our words from the time we stopped using stones and spears. Words have been the pathway forward.
And that paradigm no longer applies.
So Paul doesn't believe in freedom of speech. There, he said he doesn't.
No, the paradigm doesn't apply because Elon Musk controls the algorithm. He can surface.
Elon, what are you doing to us, Elon? Why are you harassing us
to the top?
Oh boy. Okay, that was totally destroyed. Anyway, it does sort of show the ideology between hate speech. It's just certain hate speech. It's hate speech they don't like. And remember what Jacinda Ardern said, hate speech, you'll know it when you see it. That was her definition. So beware of any hate speech laws. I did see, just speaking about the media, I did see this little promo for the New Zealand Herald, and I thought, it's a really bad promo because it actually reinforces the exact concerns we have about where the media is heading. Have a watch.
I became a journalist to enact change that will ultimately benefit all of society.
If it's news you can trust, it's news worth knowing.
Yeah, there's a problem with that, isn't there? Listen to what he says right at the beginning.
I became a journalist to enact change that will ultimately benefit all of society.
I became a journalist to enact change. No, a journalist reports the news and lets people make changes according to what they hear. I just thought that was a bit of an own goal by the New Zealand Herald if that's the narrative that they are trying to push. McBlog was posted yesterday when I was back in the office, and you wouldn't believe it, well, you probably would, that the new CEO of Inside Out, that radical activist group that goes into schools, intoxicating your kids with gender theory and radical sexuality, they have appointed a new CEO who is transgender and a drag queen. Wow. Yep. Bet you never saw that coming. So I've done a little bit of a background check, and look, people may say, well, what's it matter them personally? Why make this personal? Well, it's not about personal. It's actually about the fact that this person is the head of a government-funded group that is going into schools to indoctrinate your kids. So yes, we are very interested in the worldview. And interestingly, came from New Zealand Rugby, where they seem to be doing a very woke job there, which is a bit of a concern. I actually think in this whole transgender issue, I think the left, the transgender agenda, they are losing their own side, the left. And I say this because in California, there's this guy, Eric Swalwell, and he's trying to become the governor of California to replace Gavin Newsom. And he turns up to this meeting, and there is a Grammy-nominated singer, Tish Hyman. Heard of her? No, I hadn't either. Maybe some of you know who Tish Hyman is. My kids knew. And she basically got stuck into this governor nominee because it was just weeks after she was booted from a Gold's Gym in Los Angeles. So this is Woketown, after confronting a transgender woman, so a dude, who allegedly exposed his private parts in the women's locker room. And so here you've got someone from, I would say, the left. I mean, I don't think she's a conservative, right-wing conservative MAGA singer, Grammy-nominated, Tish Hyman, and she asked a simple question, and you'll note that he never answers the question. Have a watch.
Men allowed in the women's room anymore. We need to know.
No woman should be harassed in a locker room. That's
Answer straight. Are there going to be women? Are you against men in women's locker rooms and sports? That's all you need to answer.
I'm telling you, I
Please.
don't want men harassing you in a women's locker room.
I know.
That should not happen.
It's happening all around America. There are 45 women and there are 45 men in the women's prisons right now, raping them, picking them out like chickens. The trans men are not women, and they're raping women. So I don't care if you're on the Democrat side, the Republican side. We need to be on the women's side, people. It's happening
preach it.
to our girls. It's happening to our women. And I'm here to let everyone know that this is happening. Open your eyes.
I'm telling you.
Millions of people.
Yeah, I found it fascinating because basically the trans agenda has suffered a number of mortal blows, but it is actually losing left-wing voters. It's actually losing kind of the woke. I mean, when you start to lose California, you know that things are going bad. Yeah, nobody's heard of her. Nobody seems to know her as a singer. Yeah, anyway, maybe we're all showing our age. This was an interesting study, though. In Florida, they did a study. So and this is my concern, is that the associations, the medical associations, the counselling associations, the nurses' unions, all these groups at the top level, they are far left radicals, and they come out with these edicts. Classic example was during the gay marriage debate. And the nurses' organisation came out and said, the nurses' organisation supports gay marriage. And so I asked, did you canvass your members? No, they just came out with an edict from the powers that be at the very top. And this is the whole thing, that you hear about these medical associations who say that we should chemicalise and castrate our kids in the name of gender-affirming treatment. But the fact of the matter is that at the grassroots level, doctors don't agree. Another classic example is euthanasia in New Zealand. Barely any medical people want to do euthanasia in New Zealand. And even abortion. They're struggling to get a workforce for that as well. It's not just what grassroots doctors do, but at the top echelon levels, that's where the left-wing rabbits get in. And what they found was that most doctors in Florida, contrary to what the healthcare associations say, most doctors in Florida don't want to chemicalise kids. They don't believe in sex change interventions. And most doctors also reject racial preferences in admissions and the theory of racial concordance. Racial concordance is that patients receive the best care from a doctor or nurse of their own race. They just say, all you want is a good doctor. So that's the rank and file. But of course, at the top of these organizations, they've been taken over by radicals. Actually, sorry, Catherine, you've made a very good point. And I will just show this. Where have I gone? Which number is it? There we are. See, I was away one day and it's all gone to custard. No, I can't get it. Catherine said, I can't show you this, but Catherine says our medical associations are buying into this. Classic example, Midwifery Council. Exactly. Perfect example of where the policy wonks at the top have gone off the reservation field and not prepared to say that only women can get pregnant. And, midwives, meanwhile, know that only women can get pregnant. continued drive, as we predicted, to expand the definition of marriage. They changed the requirements for gender. My argument was always, and I asked Louisa Wall this and Nigel Latter and every other proponent for same-sex marriage, I said, if you take away the gender requirement, why not the number requirement? They could never answer the question. But the fact of the matter is there has been a growth, according to CNN, which of course we all believe, not. They say that it's 21% say polygamy is morally acceptable. 20 years ago, it was just 6%. So it's a 3 times rise. And part of it is because it's just the squeaky wheel. It just sort of pushes its way in. In the EU, they have said that if you're in one country that recognises same-sex marriage and you go to another country, that other country has to recognise same-sex marriage. It's a very subtle way of pushing same-sex marriage on every EU state. It was a German same-sex couple. They went to Poland. Poland said, well, we don't recognise same-sex marriage because Poland actually is quite a socially conservative nation, large Catholic population, and the EU is trying to force Poland to change its rules. Look, if a German couple goes to Poland, they're still deemed married in the liberal country they came from, just not in the country they're currently in. Big deal. But anyway, that's the way they push it. The Pope has just released a document concerned about the rise of polyamory. And of course, the interesting thing is, discussion with African bishops where polygamy, is in some of the cultures. But at the same time, I think the Vatican has rightly pointed out it's not just the threat of polygamy and polyamory. They refer to increasing divorce rates, the fragility of unions, the trivialization of adultery, and the promotion of polyamory. So, yeah, that's just a continued push in that area. Social media ban. Australia's one comes in 2 weeks. I see some kids are trying to challenge in court the ban. But, boy, the research coming out that Meta, Facebook, Instagram really don't care about your children is starting to become overwhelming. There's a big court case happening in the US where they are suing Meta, this is Mark Zuckerberg showing, for not looking after kids and basically admitting that what they were targeting kids. They were trying to get them addicted. They admitted it was like a drug. They did some research in 2017. They did some more in 2019. They realized, wow, our social media is causing major problems for kids. And you know what they did? They shut down the study and they buried it. That's 2019. So in 2025, and I don't want to harp on like a broken record, like a stuck record, the old needle, chicken. I'm showing my age there. But as I say, big tech has got away with blue murder. They've targeted our kids, and it's about time we held them accountable. And so, we don't need big government with digital IDs of adults, etc. We need big tech to be held accountable and to be put out of business if they continue to target our kids with completely unacceptable stuff, hardcore pornography, violence, allowing cyberbullying to take place, shocking imaging and all that type of stuff. Interestingly enough, Snapchat has started to use age verification. And once again, it's not through government. It's actually through facial recognition on your phone. That's how advanced AI has got. So this is the argument that you actually don't need big government and digital IDs to solve this problem. We actually have the technology, and these social media companies already know who your kids are, and they already know what they're targeting at your kids, and they already know that it's having a major negative effect. Time to hold big tech accountable. Just finally, nice little article, a research out of the US basically showing that regular childhood conversations about faith is one of the strongest predictors of having faith into adulthood. And they basically found that families who sit together and have at least weekly talks, 2.5 times higher odds of ending up, odds of having regular conversations about faith with their own children. So if you're discussing it with your kids, then when your kids become adults, it's far more likely that they're going to do it as well. And those conversations about faith happen around the dinner table. Now, that's no surprise. And back in 2018, I released this report where I looked at all the international research on the effects, positive effects of having dinner together regularly, not with the TV on, not with social media and people with their phones. And it's beyond doubt that family dinners or family lunches, whatever works best, if you have them on a regular basis, really makes a positive difference. Just one thing, the US military is cutting ties with Scouting America. Scouting America used to be Boy Scouts, but then they went woke, so they changed it from Boy Scouts to Scouting America. And of course, when they changed from Boy Scouts to Scouting America, because they couldn't define what a boy is, because that would be, that's not woke enough. Girl Scouts got upset because suddenly Boy Scouts became Scouting America and allowed girls in. So the Girl Scouts got very upset. But now, of course, the US military aren't that keen on helping Scouting America because, they have gone very woke. And actually, there's an alternative that has sprung up, which is more of a church-based Boy Scouts. And I can't remember the name of it, but I know the guy that set it up. I met him many years ago, and it was in a very good response. Right, just before we go, they never changed Girl Scouts, apparently, according to Simply Green. So thank you for that. And Sam says, goats have kids, Bob. We have children, just for your consideration. I can't help saying kids. I have kids, and I'm not a goat. It's just a vernacular that I use. Point taken, though, Sam. I'll just go and feed them now. Just finally, we've had the woke university and the woke airline. Given that our new CEO of Inside Out used to work at Rugby NZ, has something to do with inclusion and safeguarding, which sounds very woke. I saw this video. Everybody was sending it to me yesterday. I'll leave you with this.
Welcome to Woke Rugby NZ, where contact is optional, competition is harmful, and every try is worth the same, emotionally. All right, team. Today's scrum requires full, explicit verbal consent from everyone involved. No pressure, no assumptions.
Do we touch it all?
Only if you have a verbal approval from everyone in the scrum, plus a nod from your assigned mindfulness buddy. Coach, can I still tackle? No. Instead, express your disagreement via a polite nudge and a reflective compliment.
Let me explain the new card system. Yellow card, minor emotional infraction. Maybe you rolled your eyes too hard during a team huddle. Think carefully about your energy. Rainbow card equals microaggression toward teammates' emotional safety. Could be a dismissive nod or using the wrong pronoun. Red card equals serious violation. Requires a reflective journal and a group apology circle before you may continue playing. Here at Woke Rugby New Zealand, the only thing getting smashed is toxic masculinity, and every try is a growth opportunity for the soul.
Oh boy, that is AI generated, by the way, and very clever. And there's more and more coming out. In fact, just this morning I saw a woke fishing one, so I'll have to play that. Maybe we'll get into a regular thing of we'll always finish our show with one of these woke things. They are really on a roll and they're very popular. Anyway, got to go. It's the weekend. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday morning. Catch you later.